From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello and welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. I'm co-founder of World of Wonder, Fenton Bailey, joined by our Chief Creative Officer, Tom Campbell.
Howdy.
Howdy. And editor of the Wow Report, James St. James.
Hello.
I love it. Let's get into this week's top 10 without further ado, starting at number 10, Tom.
Number 10.
It's back, and I'm enjoying it, but you guys are the real experts. The Crown is back on Netflix. To be honest, I unsigned from Netflix like 8 months ago and just re-signed to watch The Crown. It's my way of not giving them all my money. Okay, there, I said it. And I'm on a $9.95 one screen plan a month.
Okay. That's mine. That's what I do too. I'm with you on that.
Do you see the ads, or has that started yet?
Ads has started, but I did not sign up for ads. I'm unencumbered. So The Crown is back. It's a whole new cast refresh. We saw the budding romance and the wedding and the early problems of the Princess Di, Prince Charles thing, and now we're right at the point where it's all about to fall apart. The Queen is elderly. They're questioning the monarch is being questioned like never before. And I'm not through the whole season. I'm through like 5 or 6, but there's a whole episode kind of, which is what I love about streaming storytelling, the freedom. They just go off and do a whole episode that's kind of an origin story of Muhammad Fayed and Dodi Fayed, and I find it all fascinating.
I found that completely off topic. I thought they could have done it in 10 minutes. I didn't think they needed to do a whole episode about it. I was absolutely infuriated.
My sister felt the same way you did. I love the storytelling. You know the thing about it's the pace or something about The Crown. There's many things, but the pace and those overhead shots of people driving into palaces.
I love that.
Really the number one reason I watch it is just to see British cars. Vintage British cars
gliding into the palace driveway and the picking out of the jewels. That's my favorite scenes too. The picking out of the jewels.
I love this idea. There should be a crown where there isn't really any story. It's like a slow crown. They're just driving cars, picking jewels, having a banquet, going to bed,
looking out the window.
But Tom, I do have to say that there's been a lot said about the casting choices they made this season, and Dominic West as Charles does not ring true to me. Charles is a fussy boy, aristocrat manners, and Dominic West is this lusty, hot, hard-edged man who doesn't have any of the soft, fine features of Charles. And Diana, the girl, Elizabeth Debicki, she does eye acting. It's all looking.
So did Diana. Someone said that they shouldn't call this season The Crown. They should call it The Frown, based on the way she's portraying Princess Diana.
But also, the Prince Charles has had a total personality change, as James just said. He's like, this whole idea that he plotted against the Queen, I don't even know there's anything to that.
And he's just too forceful. And I don't believe Charles is a forceful person at all. I do want to just note, I don't know if you guys noticed that the guy who plays John Majors, the Prime Minister, do you know who that is?
Phil Donahue?
That's Donnie Lee Miller, who was married to Angelina Jolie.
Oh,
and he was in Train Spotting. I don't know if you remember.
He does look very unhappy.
Yeah, he's Sick Boy from Train Spotting. Yeah.
Right.
And the Princess Margaret, I think I love that. Even though no one can hold a candle to Helena Bonham Carter, I think this new Princess Margaret is fantastic.
And there's even a great, again, this is all dramatization, but there was a great episode where Queen Elizabeth and she come to, have a rehashing of things. It's really painful. And then it gets resolved in a way that's it seems so realistic to me, just in terms of like that. I don't know, their bond is so stronger than the circumstance in which
you like Imelda Staunton as and Jonathan Pryce as Prince Philip.
I think so. Again, interesting stories about it. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be super heavy Di and Charles. And while they are covering that story quite closely, there's all these other, again, I'm always finding out things. I don't know much about the royals, so everything.
The last episode, it leaves you on quite a note.
Oh my god.
Oh, see, I'm only 2 episodes in, and I'm glad to hear all this because it's inspiring me to actually get back to it and really watch the rest of
the
it.
last 2 or 3 episodes is fully Diana, and there's a really good, like the Margaret and Queen scene where they sort of rehash thing. There's a really good kitchen table scene with Charles and Diana that's pretty fantastic.
Who is the journalist that interviewed her and Michael Jackson?
Martin Bashir or Andrew Morton?
He comes off. History has not. He's still alive, but history has not treated him well. The facts that have come forward are pretty disturbing and worth knowing.
That's The Crown season 5 streaming on Netflix. Let's go on to number 9, James.
Number 9.
Well, I want to talk some more about some quality television that I've been watching, some prestige television. I watched the Lindsay Lohan Netflix movie, Falling for Christmas. It is my favorite movie of the year. It's a holiday schmaltz fest that's half a step up from Hallmark, but I love that crap. I love it to death. It stars Lindsay and Cord Overstreet, who used to be on Glee, and he was the bleach blonde with the trout mouth, the little twink. I don't know if you guys were geeks, but he is now a daddy. He's in his 30s, and he's a daddy, and he's hot as fuck. And he's probably my favorite part for watching the movie. The plot is, it's an old one. It is a spoiled hotel heiress gets bumped on the head and gets amnesia. And a lonely widower who runs a hotel in town finds her and puts her to work as a maid until she remembers who she is.
So it's Overboard with Goldie Hawn, but we've sort of switched up.
It's Overboard. It is. Goldie did it better. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, I love an amnesia movie like Desperately Seeking Susan, 51st Dates, all of those movies. But Lindsay looks fantastic. This is the best she's looked in 10 years. She is funny. She is on it. Watch out, Lucille Ball. She does slapstick. She does pratfalls. She's falling out of chairs. She's falling down mountains. She gives this her 110%.
I have not seen the movie. I saw her on the red carpet promoting the movie, and you're right. She has never looked more clear-eyed, more beautiful. And we've been wanting this for so many years and been disappointed every single time. But she is one of the most incredibly talented actresses of our time who has gone through a lot of hardship. And wouldn't it be wonderful if this truly was the beginning of her comeback, her resurgence?
This is not going to be nominated for any awards, I'm afraid.
No, but she can get work from this. She can get work from this.
She can get work from it. And like I said, that every time you get like a real chuckle out of it, because the script is terrible, but when there are real chuckles, it's Lindsay, and you say, "Go, Lindsay, go, honey, you did it, you nailed that line." There's also
I had a boss at HBO who used to say, if a woman is pretty and she's funny, you know what she is? I go, what? He goes, a movie star, because it's very few people that have those two qualities.
Yes, the villain in this is her fiance, who is an Instagram influencer, and I just want to say that every movie this year has had a villain who is an influencer, and that's the new Russians in movie land. But anyway, I think that you should watch this on a double bill with Castle for Christmas starring Brooke Shields, which I talked about last year, or A Night for Christmas with Vanessa Hudgens, because these are all really good holiday movies. And let's move on.
Can I just give one like to Cameron, what's her name? Candace Cameron Burrell, for saying publicly that she moved from Hallmark to that other network because they represent
traditional marriage, right?
Yes. There was a homosexual in this one, and Candace would have been horrified.
So to Candace Cameron Burrell.
All right. Okay. Moving on. That is and that's streaming on Netflix, right, James?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to number 8.
Number 8.
The Trumps are back in the news. The headline here is Ivana's Upper East Side townhouse is on the market. So
is that what happened this week?
And I'm going to hand it over to James, our real estate correspondent.
Well,
For
I was
some
just
insight.
about
Tell
to put you
me.
on the spot and say, I haven't seen it. Fenton, what does it look like?
Well, it
Do you-
looks like the inside of a Fabergé egg. I mean, the bathroom, gorgeous pink marble, gilt. I mean, the Trump aesthetic is on evidence here. In the living room, I guess, there's a couch with some fabulous. Actually, the couch I really would.
It is
I
very
would
nice. It's a
take that
leopard couch. Yeah.
especially given the fact that it is upholstered in leopard beneath a beautiful leopard. It's not a mosaic, is it? It's a
It's
fresco.
a mural.
A
It's-
mural, a fresco of leopards prancing as they do. Maybe not fornicating quite yet. And there's tassels and pillars and what have you. I mean, oh, and of course there's the staircase.
Well, I was, one of the comments on Instagram was saying that staircase, it was haunted before she bought it. Like, it is just a terrifying staircase. It really
I'm
is.
no expert, but what is so terrifying about it? It's gently sloped, it curves. Like, why does everyone say that staircase was gonna kill her?
Well, it is a long staircase. It's a long staircase for an 80-year-old woman to traverse.
Honey,
It just
did
really
you see
is.
Sunset Boulevard? I mean, that's what the whole film leads up to.
Do you know how old she was when she made that film?
Gloria
40,
Swanson?
50.
50.
Yeah. But it's a staircase that is perfect for soap operas, that is meant for pushing people down. It's one of those ones where people tumble and tumble and tumble and tumble down. I want to say that Fenton, years and years ago, Randy and Fenton did Dictators by Design.
Oh, yes.
It was a series, I think, that they did of different dictators' palaces.
It was supposed to be a series. We only got to do
yeah.
Imelda Marcos.
Imelda Marcos.
Oh, yeah. But there was also the all the different dictators. I remember doing the research for that, and
Mhm.
Ivana Trump would have made a good dictator.
She
if you-
would.
Yes,
She would. But now you've got me thinking about Imelda Marcos, not to be outdone, built an entire palace out of bamboo. Everything bamboo. Bamboo curtains, bamboo sheets, bamboo light fixtures, bamboo furniture, bamboo carpets, bamboo wallpaper.
I think I would rather have Ivana's townhouse than a bamboo palace in the Philippines.
Here's the horrible thing to think about is, and maybe James, you can help with all of your connections, is like, can you find someone to buy that apartment that will leave it intact?
Well, it should be a museum. It should be a
Right?
museum to 80s excess is what it should be. You
Yeah.
know?
How much is it? That's the question. What's it on the market for?
It says, can't remember. Hold on, Blake.
We can all three of us chip in if it's not too much.
The problem with it is it's not big. It is a very narrow townhouse. It's, townhouses in New York can be very narrow. And so it's just one room on each floor. So
staircase after staircase.
Staircase after staircase, darling.
Well, needless to say, there is no surface that has not been covered with some rich, overly ornate geometric print or bit of
And it
gilt
makes
or
you
gold.
realize just how much influence she had on the Donald, and how he, everything he's done since has been sort of imitating Ivana's
Absolutely.
style.
She was the style behind the dictator.
Yeah, she was the brains behind the genius that is the Trump aesthetic.
Style might be overdoing it. I wouldn't
some
call it
word like that. This just in from our,
26.5 million is what it's on the market for.
From Blake just researched
26.5 million. All right, well, that's your $1 million listing for the day. I am going to hijack the shameless plug going to break. Today is the UK publication date, and I hold one in my hand if you're watching, for Screen Age.
It looks amazing. I haven't seen the cover yet. Oh my God.
There it is. I'm holding up Screen Age. How Television Shaped Our Reality, from Tammy Faye to RuPaul's Drag Race. And it's a little book I've written. It's published by Ebury Press, and it's out in the UK. You can actually get it from via store.worldofwonder.com. You can order it, and it will come to you here in the States or
in the US as well. Say that again. Where do you buy it in the US?
You buy it in the US via store.worldofwonder.com or via amazon.co.uk. If that's all too much, you can wait until the spring when it will be published in the US. And there's a great foreword by Graham Norton.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, let the Fenton mania begin.
what
let
an
me tell you-
accomplishment.
You are both in it
Ah,
because I love you both so much.
little worried about that.
You'll be hearing from my lawyer.
Let's go to the break. Blake, do you have a question?
I sure do. It's been a big week for Miss Taylor Swift, and she broke a record as the first artist with all of their songs in the top 10 on Billboard's Hot 100 chart. Which artist record did she beat who had 9 of their songs in the top 10 in September 2021?
We'll have the answer right after the break. You're listening to the Wow Report here on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report on Radio Andy. It's Fenton here with James St. James, Tom Campbell, and Blake with a question. And before you ask the question, we just got to give a shout out to Andy, our fearless leader. He's just renewed his deal here at Sirius. So as long as we don't get cancelled, hopefully we'll be on air for a few more shows.
No, hand in hand, he renewed his deal and he didn't cancel us. That's the really good news.
We love you, Andy.
All right. Well, this week's the question is, it's been a big week for Taylor Swift, who she just broke a record with having the whole top 10 to herself on the Billboard Hot 100. Which artist record did she beat who had 9 of their songs in the top 10 in September of 2021? It's also the same artist who recently just knocked her from number 1.
Oh, it's not Beyonce then. Is it Nicki?
No.
Sam Smith.
No. It's
I
Drake.
said you're not Beyonce.
Drake.
Drake. There you go.
Who?
Drake.
Betsy Drake. She was the star of
Married to
Cary
Cary Grant at one point. Betsy Drake.
We are counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow, and we've reached number 6. No, we haven't. We're counting down the top 10 things that make us go wow, and we've reached number 7.
Number 7.
James has disappeared. Where's James
I
gone?
don't know. I'm not starting until the end.
I fell off my seat laughing so hard. It's your ineptitude.
Never fails.
2 weekends ago, right before the election, I told you guys I was doing this. I flew to Phoenix, met my cousin Chuck. We drove to Prescott, Arizona, which is a very kind of Republican kind of place, where I got to see a production of Hello, Dolly at the Yavapai Community College, starring the one, the only Toni Tenille.
I am so excited for this.
Now, what I went to do, which was total fan worship, turned into a much richer experience, and let me tell you why. First of all, Barbra Streisand, when she did the movie Hello, Dolly many years ago, was criticized for being too young. She was 28. Toni Tenille is 82.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is.
She looks great. She sounded great. It was the third night of like a 30 nights thing. She went up on a couple of her lines, but she made it charming. You know, it's a very schlocky show. Here's the 2 things I came away with. Number 1, how beautiful, because it was a student/community theater project, right? And in this reddish, city. It's not all red, but it's very, and the amount of energy and effort that goes into putting on a big production in a community is awe-inspiring. And the thing about Hello, Dolly is it's one showstopper after another. That's how it kind of runs. It's kind of a thin show, but it has lots of, and at certain points they had, I swear to God, 30 guys on stage tap dancing who are all, in period clothes, but they had their crazy hair. They were modern kids doing this, and they had women dressed as men, and they had women as well in the production. But it was really, and then to sit in the audience and have the community surround them and love every minute of it. Now, was it 100% up to Broadway standards and whatnot? No, but almost more lovely. How it's just.
No, I love that better. I think there's something very sweet and wonderful about community theater, because they're like, it's the same thing. They're trying 110%.
Yes. And the appreciation from the audience was palpable. Now, here is an interesting thing that impressed me, probably nobody else, but I'll share it with you guys because you let me. Which is, so we get there. I got 2 seats, but my one was in front of the other. So my cousin Chuck's in front of me, I'm behind, and I'm in a very chatty mood. I'm so happy. We're there early. We're the youngest people in the audience, and and so there's a guy sitting next to me, and this venue is something that a lot of people go to. Like there's Tony Orlando, and and it's that circuit of people. And so there's big pictures aside, and this guy next to me who's probably my age, straight cowboy boots, kind of straight guy that kind of scares me and turns me on, and his wife next to him, and they have their hands held. And he's like, we saw the Righteous Brothers here a couple weeks ago. And I said, oh my gosh, were they good? And he said, they were great. And I said, it was Bill Medley, and I guess there's a new one because the one passed away. And I said with all my heart, I said, those are some of the best pop songs ever written. And we just went off about how incredible that music was. He was very low key, but totally appreciated it. Then his wife piped in. She goes, we're going to see Tanya Tucker here December 1st. And you guys know I love Tanya Tucker. And I'm like, oh my God, I love Tanya Tucker so much. I might have overshared, but I just enthusiasm. And then at one point in our conversation, our very friendly conversation, he said, it leaked. He goes, oh, you're from California, huh? Don't even get me started. And he was trying to be charming, but he was attacking me. And he said, I hear you can't even fart in California. I said, why? And he says, because they don't like gas in that state. So, and instead of like shutting down or being defensive, because I was full of love, I just said to him, I didn't say buddy. I said, we just spent the last 10 minutes.
We're partying right now.
We just spent the last 10 minutes loving the same. We love the same kind of music, and we spent the last 10 minutes talking about it. I said, I said, very nice. I said, I think, again, it wasn't super confrontational. I said, I think that's the problem. Everybody thinks we're different. And I said, and I think we're all a lot more alike than we think. And he backed off. And at the end, I wished him well. And I was overwhelmed too by, Hello, Dolly was written by Jerry Herman, a super gay guy, who contracted HIV early on and lived to a ripe old age. He wrote me. And the whole audience, including Mr. Guy sitting to the left of me, is tearing up at the same points I'm tearing up, is applauding at the same points, laughing. So it's just, again, reminder to me, I don't have to prove it to anybody else, but we are much more alike than we are different. And I'm trying to bring that attitude with me everywhere. Thank you, Toni Tenille.
Well, thank you, Tom.
You didn't tell us about. I think that I'm just gobsmacked that she's 82 years old and still on stage. I think that singing on stage, I think that's wonderful.
And when's the last time you had to memorize something?
Yeah, exactly. I can't even memorize what I'm about.
Look at me! I'm trying to count down from number 10 to number 1.
You can't do it every week. So, and my cousin Chuck, who's a sweetheart, he said, "Think about that. Most 82-year-olds are at." They're someplace, and here she is going on stage, singing, performing, carrying a show. It was amazing, and I love her voice so much. If you do nothing else,
too.
Listen to some Toni Tenille today. Make yourself happy.
All right. Let's move on to number 6.
Number 6.
Elon Musk, or as his full name is Elongated Muskrat. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Sounds like a Captain Tenille song.
I had to put Elon Musk on mute on Twitter. I just can't stand it anymore.
I'll tell you something. Last month we watched the implosion of Kanye West after his anti-Semitic, tirades cost him everything. And this month, we've watched Elon Musk just go down in flames. It's been spectacular. It's been crazy to watch what happened since he acquired Twitter. Just watching him go from ineptitude to chaos. He's been both manic and like self-obsessed, and it's just watching the whole thing happen in real time. It's like seeing someone with a Jesus complex meet the Peter Principle. The Peter Principle is you rise to your level of incompetence, and then you flame out. And that's exactly what he has done. And it's what happens when a billionaire has nobody to say no to him, which we've seen across the board happen a billion times to everybody. When there's no guardrails, where nobody can help you, and there's nobody above you. just to put things in motion. And we watched the crash and burn with the blue check verification, which did not work, and then it was going to be the gray verification, and then he laid off everybody, and then he asked them to come back, and then there was that moment where he tweeted out, "Vote Republican." And you realize, did he just do this because people were did he buy it because people were making fun of him and he wanted to teach everybody a lesson? Or B, did he do it because he's, a Trump Republican and he wants to use this to help get Trump back on and you don't know what he's doing anymore. I just, it's weird that the person who did Tesla and SpaceX that we were all rooting for a couple of years ago has turned into such a super villain.
100%. And chaos is the key word you're saying. And I'm learning more now, but he wasn't the genius behind supposedly SpaceX and Tesla. He was the investor or the gang leader, which makes sense.
A couple of years, before you start though, a couple of years ago, I think on the show even, we were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Saying that eccentric billionaires maybe is what we need to help invest in things like SpaceX and get the thing. But we've learned that billionaires almost are never the solution.
I'm curious though, James, you use Twitter a lot. I don't really use it that much, to be honest, and except for porn. And the thing is though that how do you feel seeing 44 billion going up in smoke and the whole platform spiraling? Because the fake accounts have cost Eli Lilly billions in stock market drops because of the fake news, Lockheed as well, and so it's just become this anarchic platform of fake, and so it has lost all credibility as a platform of true information, and the advertisers are going to go, so the whole thing seems to be
it is cratering as we are watching a $44 billion company crater and lose value every single day. The thing is, like I've said before, I've cultivated a really wonderful small circle of followers that we all engage in each other, and we have laughs, and we share memes, and we share this and we share that, and stories, and we comment and everything like that. And I will be very sad to see it go. So far, it hasn't affected me and my friends yet. It hasn't gotten to that level because I'm,
not today. We'll see what he does tomorrow. I hear what you're saying. I have no interest in getting off of it right now, but it feels like it's more about the business story, kind of like you're saying, Fenton, and his demise and his credibility. And when will this, if and when this affects SpaceX or Tesla, when will Teslas all of a sudden be something that you don't want to drive?
They already are. Teslas used to be for Democrats and liberals, and now the right wing has co-opted them. And every time I see Fenton tootle down the road in his Tesla, I think, well, there goes a MAGA. Fenton's gone full MAGA.
But I must say, it's an interesting time because Teslas were kind of the only game in town when it came to style, prestige, and performance. And now almost especially here in California, almost every automaker is coming up with amazing electric vehicles.
I do think it's time to ditch Tesla. I really do.
It's vulnerable.
Hey, James, I just looked at your Twitter account. You don't have a blue check mark.
I've never had a blue check mark. No, I've tried for 5 years to get a blue check mark, and I've never been able to be verified. And I have a feeling that's why my numbers stopped at 37,000 about 4 years ago. And even though I know people are still, but my numbers have not changed in 4 years. And I think it's because I'm not verified.
Oh my gosh. Moving on to number 5.
Number 5.
Elliot woke up the other day last weekend and said, I want to watch a shark movie. And he clearly had a plan. And he does this sometimes. He wakes up. This is my 6-year-old. He wakes up with a plan of exactly what he wants to do. Went to the TV, turned on 6-Headed Shark Attack. And we watched over breakfast this movie that was made in 2018 that features a bunch of couples going to an island, a sort of marriage boot camp, because they're all having relationship problems, only to be eaten bit by bit by a 6-headed shark. I was like, I gotta see this. Where did this child hear about a 6-headed
Where did
shark?
he hear about it?
I have no idea. Turns out this is a franchise. And yes, there has been a 3-headed shark attack movie. There's been a 5-headed shark attack movie. The tagline for that is "You can't survive the 5." And for the 3-headed shark, it's more heads, more deads. And I'm just like this child. But the amazing
you have a demon child.
I did this deep dive, and so the 6-headed shark attack was made in 2018. So this is a virtual vintage franchise. And the first one was made in 2012, so 10 years ago. And these movies are pretty incredible. I mean, they're absolutely awful. They're made for like tuppence. But the novelty of seeing a 6-headed shark, let me tell you.
Does it look real when you see it? Do you get to see 6
When
heads?
it's swimming in the water, it looks real enough. It's got 6 heads, a sort of a line. But the thing is, in the 3-headed shark attack movie, they started exploring the idea that the 3 heads don't get on. So they're fighting with each other and they bite each other off. So then to continue the franchise, they came up with the idea that, okay, if you lose one of your heads, you can regenerate and they grow more. And in fact, the 6-headed shark attack, the shark actually begins as a 5-headed shark, but its dorsal fin turns into an extra head. So it becomes a 6-headed shark attack. At one point, the shark bites off one of its head and throws it at someone who's trying to shoot the shark and kills it with a decapitated projectile head. It's just so good.
May I make a suggestion? Just to get this really competitive here, at the Radio Andy now, there's a lot of other people in the competition. We should rename the WoW Report to the 3-headed shark attack.
We should. I think there could be a drag race challenge here. But the best thing, and then we'll go to break. The best thing is in this 6-headed shark attack, the shark actually has the skill of amphibious locomotion. It comes out of the water and uses 2 of its heads to run across the beach. And the person is on the beach thinking they're safe, they're just too gobsmacked to run. They're like, what is happening? A 6-headed shark is running towards me using 2 of its head as legs.
Hilarious.
The thing that really fascinates me though, because I see this a lot, is where do kids come up with these things? Like, it's like, does he find it? Did school friends tell him about it? Did he see it on? I mean, he didn't see it on Nickelodeon. A commercial on Nickelodeon. How do kids find out about what the things that they?
I
find
blame
out
YouTube, or maybe he's on Twitter. Maybe that's the problem.
I think it's YouTube, and they look at things and things get suggested to them. Because my 8-year-old nephew has had Invasion of the Killer or Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Where did he find that? But he's obsessed.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. I would love to do a study of that.
I just want to tell you, the WoW store has an amazing Black Friday sale with new items dropping, such as badge, display banner, and shade umbrella. And a 6-headed shark, too, maybe. Go to store.worldofwonder.com for more details. Blake, you got a question?
Of course I do. And this one's about Thanksgiving. A Thanksgiving turkey mix-up inspired what popular meal trend?
We'll have the answer to that right after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the WoW Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake. We're counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. Blake.
Yeah, I asked, a Thanksgiving turkey mix-up inspired what popular meal trend?
I would have to say it's either the turducken or the boiling in oil turkeys.
Fried.
Yeah, fried.
How could it be? You accidentally stuffed your turkey and stuck inside your turkey, like it slipped. You slipped in the kitchen,
or you slipped and dropped it in oil. Maybe is what I'm hot oil.
I have no idea.
I think I was gonna say it's the cranberry sauce.
Well, those are all very good guesses, but you're all wrong because it's frozen TV dinners. In 1953, a Swanson employee accidentally ordered way too many turkeys, so they had to figure out what to do with them. So they made the Thanksgiving turkey frozen dinners.
And that was the beginning of frozen dinners?
That was the beginning.
Oh.
I'll
Wow.
ding dong.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And you know who is the Swanson heir, of course?
Christy Swanson?
No. Tucker Carlson. His
Wow.
yes, he is the Swanson heir.
Must be another billionaire that no one says no
need
to.
In fact, they call him Tucker Fish Stick Swanson.
Fish sticks.
Fish sticks.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Okay, number 4. We're counting down top 10 things that made us go, wow.
Number 4.
I'd like to use my wows for good, and I wonder if this week I have broken that rule. Steven Spielberg is one of the greatest, if not the greatest filmmakers of our time. Has told so many stories, light ones, heavy ones, Lincoln, E.T., Schindler's List, an amazing contribution to humanity. So now he has a movie out called The Fabelmans, which is a fictionalized version of his youth as a boy who wants to be a filmmaker, his eccentric mother, and a kind of, I don't think I'm spoiling anything, and a love affair and a wonderful father who's all intellect. The mother's all kind of spirit and kooky, and she falls in love with his best friend. And it's that family growing up in the 50s and 60s. And it has all the Spielbergisms in it. And you realize how much of Spielberg's work has been influenced by his youth and family, which has been documented along the way. It was over 2.5 hours long.
Was it self-indulgent? The commercials feel self-indulgent to me.
A little bit. Now I saw it. It's with previews in LA. I saw it last weekend. The audience seemed very, it was people that really wanted to go see it. They seemed very engaged. I had trouble connecting emotionally with it at all. It's hard to get behind a kid who wants to be a filmmaker, even though, again, Spielberg mixes his magic. Michelle Williams plays his mother, who reminded.
Is there an Oscar nomination for Michelle? That's what I hear.
Probably, because she's amazing and she is amazing. Carry the film.
Yeah.
And my 2 jokes, because I have too much time during the film to think of funny jokes, I'm going to say to the person I'm with as we leave. And one was, "That's the longest episode of the Goldbergs I've ever seen." The Goldbergs where the guys, yeah. And then I didn't know that Steven Spielberg was raised by Gwen Verdon, because Michelle Williams played Gwen Verdon.
Yes.
And then I found out Michael Mejia, who we work with, Michael went to a screening of it same day I did someplace else, where Spielberg actually came out and spoke to the audience afterwards, which is pretty fucking special. And he said that Michelle Williams, when he saw her in Fosse and Verdon, he knew then that she should play his mother because she displayed a lot of the characteristics and spirit of his mother. It's getting rave reviews because I think people have to. I'm just letting you know. Yeah. And by the way, this really would save the day. And I would just wish people would listen to me and act appropriately. If a movie is over 2 hours, don't make it. Instead, go to a streamer, Steven Spielberg, and turn it into a miniseries. Because if you want to be indulgent and tell every detail, then do it in a series where I can take bathroom breaks, where there are some kind of resolutions at the end or cliffhangers to keep me going. Do not make me, not me with my old man bladder, sit in that theater for 2.5 hours and expect me not to want to pull out my phone or think of something else or tear your movie apart because it's too damn long. There.
Interestingly, this last weekend, I watched, probably at the same time you were there, I watched Radio Days, the old Woody Allen movie about his childhood growing up in Brooklyn during the 1930s. And I know Woody Allen is someone that you can't mention without getting also everybody triggered. But if you want to watch a movie about a director's childhood that works, that to me is one of the best movies of all time. In watching little Seth Green be Woody Allen is just one of my favorite things on the planet. But yeah, I can see where it might be indulgent. I have no interest in seeing it. I'm sorry.
All right, let's move on. That's The Fabelmans in theaters now. Number 3, James.
Number 3.
I'm going to take what Tom usually does with his last one. It's going to be a rest in peace segment. I want to say rest in peace to iconic soap star John Aniston, father of Jennifer Aniston, of course. He was on many soap operas. He was on Search for Tomorrow, Love of Life. And then 45 years ago, he landed the role of the dastardly Victor Kiriakis on Days of Our Lives, and he's been there for 45 years. And he is, the last couple of years, the last 10 years or so, he's been more curmudgeonly than villainous. And he always has the best line. He's always calling everyone, "You old tramp, get out of here, you tramp." He's just like an old 89-year-old man. He is so mean on the show. He is a cranky pants and everybody loves him. And for the past, like, probably 5 years, he's, like I said, 89 years old. I don't think he interacts with the other. I think he comes in, he's always sitting. You never see him standing or walking. He's in a chair, propped up in a chair, and he says his lines, and then it goes to the other people, and you know that they're sort of like just editing him in. I think they sort of bring him in, but it's one of those things where he wants to keep acting until the very end, and he did. He's still on the show now. His last episode will air December 26th, the day after Christmas, and Days of Our Lives released a picture of him in a Santa hat from the last episode that he's in. And it's so funny because there's nobody who is less like Santa than Victor Kiriakis. I just want to say that his IMDb page goes back to the early 60s. He was in television, I Spy, The Virginian, Mission Impossible, That Girl, all the way up through West Wing, Gilmore Girls, Mad Men. He has been in everything, and he is just beloved by the soap industry, and it's been a nice thing to see.
Impossible to convey to people who don't watch soap operas how invested you and other fans become in the actors and the characters that they played. I always say that people spend more time, with soap opera characters in many cases than they do with their own family, just hour to hour, And
I just want to say that on Twitter, they've been doing like what is it, like just scene after scene after scene, you're seeing old scenes, and there's a couple of them where he opens up the door and there's a character, Nicole, standing there, and you're like, "Did anyone order a hooker?" And then he walks in, and he pushes one woman out the window, and then he goes out to get the newspaper, and he tells the butler, "There's some trash in the driveway. Go sweep it up," because he's pushed her out the window. Anyway,
rest in perfection, John Aniston. Number two, Joyland. Joyland is the title of a movie that is Pakistan's entry into the Oscars International Feature category. And I know about this because Katerina Otto Bernstein, who was one of the producers of Mapplethorpe, asked me to host a screening, which is very nice of her, at the Four Seasons of the movie, because they do this. It's campaign season. You have screenings. You invite members of the Academy to big up the movie. Today, this movie was supposed to be released in Pakistan. It's been banned by the government for highly objectionable material, which does not conform with the social values and moral standards of our society and is clearly repugnant to the norms of decency and morality. So what is this movie about, you ask? It is the story of Haider, who's the youngest son of a patriarchal family in Lahore, Pakistan. He looks after the kids. It's a multi-generational family living together. The father hates the son because he's married, but he hasn't produced a son. He's the youngest, and he's a stay-at-home caregiver. So he's not working, and that's a shame on the family. And he ends up getting a job in an erotic dance review. And then he falls in love with the trans lead of the show. Yeah,
red flags, Pakistani government.
It is. This is I met the director, Saim Sadiq. It's his first feature film that he's ever written and directed. First
he gets an Oscar nomination and banned.
And it was the first Pakistani film to play at the Cannes Film Festival, where it won the jury prize in Uncertain Regard. And it has just, as of today, Friday the 18th, been banned in Pakistan. And the kicker is, if they can't find a place to screen it, it will be disqualified. It won't be eligible.
Right. Oh, no.
The foreign film has to play somewhere in a theater. I think in
that country.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh
So
dear.
If they find a host country to play it in,
that's what I was
come
thinking.
on.
There's a really strong Pakistan community in the UK, and there must be a theater and where you could make it count.
And maybe it would then be like a UK nomination or something, or
yeah, but it's a
I don't
sober
know.
reminder.
Make an exception.
It's
because
shocking.
I was gonna say that sometimes like if you're banned in Boston, that does great for your sales. Like that ultimately this might be good for him, but if he can't get a show,
I wonder what Candace Cameron thinks about this movie. No, I don't.
No, exactly. It is a beautiful film. I mean, the only thing I would say about it is beautifully filmed, beautifully acted. The actress that is a trans woman who plays the lead is Alina Khan is fantastic, but it is so dark. And Joyland is not what it should be called. Well, I mean, it can be called Joyland, which is the name of the theme park where everybody tries to find some entertainment, but it is a very bleak film in that, the generational cost of sort of male chauvinism. We know all these themes and we know this fundamental battle. And as much progress as I think we've made, you suddenly realize there are parts of the world where it's still horrible. So, Joyland, if you can see it, do see it. It really is a beautiful, powerful film. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, the number one thing this week that made us go wow, very excited to welcome to the Wow Report a super secret special guest.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And so finally, number one this week on the Wow Report, the person who makes us go wow, not just this week, but every week, every day. So excited to welcome to the show
Number one,
Phil Ferguson.
Hello.
Hi, Phil.
Hi.
My gosh,
I have a
it's
little
so good to
spiel
see
about
you.
you. I'm excited to just tell you just a few little things. I've had an Insta crush on feels so embarrassing talking about you while you're here. I've had an Insta crush on you since 2014 when you started posting your amazing crochet creations on Instagram.
Yes.
And they have kept me company. And I have all sorts of feelings I can't quite describe. But you do these amazing headpieces, like a slice of pizza or a burger, like pop iconography as headpieces. And you've graduated to do whole entire outfits. It's not just the creativity of the outfit. It's the way you model them too that gives me feelings I didn't know I had.
Now, you guys, I'm getting uncomfortable. I find this a little weird.
You are so deadpan in the way you work it, but it's so charming. And it's James, I'm surprised you don't have many of these outfits.
Phil, I want you to know that I had no idea as to Fenton's obsession coming into this. I've been obsessed since 2014. We put you on the Wow Report 100 times since before. And every single time I say, I need the popcorn, I need the hamburger, I need this, I need that. Fenton, I don't know why you don't have a piece by now. If your love goes as deep as you say it does, you should have a whole closet. You should be supporting Phil is what you should be doing.
Fenton, I'll just gift you one day.
Oh,
you can just have one.
I insist on paying it. And anyway, I was going to say, James, I have a deep yarning. You see, I filled with deep yarning.
Well, wait a minute. You're going to gift him one? What if I tell you I love you? I love you, Phil.
No, seriously. I don't usually make them for people, but I'm always open to giving them to people that I admire or like my friends or things like that. So like you guys could have one easily.
What inspired you? How did this start, and what continues to inspire you?
Was there a grandmother involved or something? Or?
No. Well, so I studied fine art, so I always come from an art context. I don't usually come from a craft context, which is what everybody traditionally thinks of crochet as being a part of, and so I get lumped in with a lot of that. But obviously I do a craft, but I sort of think in an artist mindset. And so so I moved to Melbourne almost 9 years ago, so 2014. So when I literally started all of this in 2014. So yeah, you guys have known me basically as long as I've been doing it, which is crazy. But it's just really funny. So So the reason why I started making these wearable sort of pieces was because I wanted to do drag. So when I moved to Melbourne, I was like watching lots of Drag Race. And so I was like, you know what, maybe I'll start making wearable things for what would have been my drag at the time. But then I started my Instagram account and just sort of kept up sort of posting and all that sort of stuff. And it took off in a different way than I was sort of expecting it to go. And so I never looped back to that performance.
But you know, I
side.
guarantee, Phil, if there was a runway challenge and you showed up in drag in the popcorn outfit, I want to see RuPaul's look on her face when you the sleigh that you would get.
Yeah.
Also, another interesting string to your bow is that you went on Survivor Australia Brains versus Brawn. Like, what would make you do that?
It's there's only 2 shows that my whole life I ever said I would want it. Like, I feel like everybody has a few things that they would want to do, like TV wise, like I don't know, go on game shows in some variety. But I always have been obsessed with Survivor. And so I just applied. A lot of people assumed that I got recruited, but I fully applied. I went through casting. I went through the whole process. It's just really funny now because Survivor in itself has sort of changed a lot since when it started. And I did like what it was. And I don't know if anybody has ever seen the one episode, because I was first out, but I was untraditionally the first out. Like, what happened to me was like unprecedented. No other version of the show had ever done this thing before. And so I just happened to have gotten this weird deal of my experience with Survivor, but I'd always been really into it. And so it was just natural for me to do it. But because of my experience, I don't know if necessarily it was probably a good thing that I did it. Maybe it was better for it to be sort of a thing
fantasy.
I would have. Yeah, fantasy. But yeah, if anybody's ever watched that one episode I'm in, yeah, they'll fully understand what I'm talking about.
It makes you the Victoria Pork Chop Parker of Australia's Survivor. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. It's the best thing about that whole experience was that night I went on Twitter or something like that, and all the fans were so lovely about it. I was scared that I was going to get a bad response, but everybody was so lovely. And so it really was sort of that moment where, like, Drag Race has so many examples of people who've gone out first and people who embrace them. And I was really fortunate that I happened to get that.
Miss Vanjie.
Yeah.
Tell me about this new series you're doing. They're like little memories, right? They're little single images, almost like crochet versions of a snapshot. Talk about that.
Well, I'm currently in LA at the moment because it was my 30th a few weeks ago. And so sort of in the lead up to it, I wanted to do something that was a little bit more self-reflective than sort of just fun content, I guess. And so I was doing a series where I was making at least one a day, a little sort of, they were 6x4 photo sized little portraits. Each one was representing sort of a year of my life leading up to being 30. And so, yes, I was just sort of making these little portraits, and I didn't really know in what shape they would sort of eventuate. Would they be just singular sort of panels or whatever? But I had the idea while I was here to at least turn it into a vest so I could wear it on my birthday. And so I at least had sort of like a wearable sort of version of all these photos that I could wear. And yeah,
I've looked at them, and my first thought was that they're pocketbooks or that they could be wallets or something like that. They're very like purses. I think they're so good. Just slap 2 together. And
James is always shopping for accessories, just so you know. Always shopping for accessories.
There you go.
Yes. Sew them together and put a zipper on it, and baby, you've got an eBay or Etsy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's the beginning of something. Like, that was the first time I ever did anything like that. So I don't know. Now I've done a heap of them. I'm like, oh, I could basically be making wallets, doing whatever I need.
Yes, that's your $1 million idea right there. Because not everybody is going to buy a complete popcorn dress.
No,
but they will buy a purse.
Yes, exactly.
You'd be surprised. They're very form flattering. I think they hide all the right things.
what has your experience of being in Hollywood and LA been like?
It's really funny because before I came, everybody uses the analogy back home that Melbourne, where I live, is like New York and Sydney is like LA. But having been in LA for a few weeks now, I'm like, actually, Sydney, LA reminds me of Perth, where I'm originally from. So because like LA is very big, but everything sort of has quite a bit of distance between everything. So you need a car and you need to be able to drive around and, you know, get around in that way. It's always sunny generally. Though since I've been here, there's been a few rainy days, which I realize are very rare, but so my perception is very warped. And
we freak out. Yes, we freak out on the rainy days.
And
every time I hear Perth on Drag Race, I have to say they have a lot of personality there because that's the joke that RuPaul says every time.
I was going to say, everybody I've ever met from Perth has been a complete wackadoo, and I'm wondering if that is the same thing. Your perception of LA is that we're all just a bunch of wackadoodles.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the sun has gotten to everybody, and that's why it's the way it is. Because everybody who's from Perth ends up coming to Melbourne to be work in a creative field or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that actually is the case.
Well, Phil, you have to come back because I know just before the pandemic, we were talking about having an exhibition at the gallery space, and then, all that happened. But now that you've been here and seen it, you definitely have to come back and we have to do that exhibition.
Yes.
I'm just excited for that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, checking out that space was great. Like, it was so much bigger than I was expecting. Very high ceilings.
There's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah.
For our listeners, where's the best place for them to follow you to see your art?
The best place to check out what I do is on Instagram, which would be @ChiliPhilly. So CHILI, not two L's, PHILLY. Or look up Phil Ferguson. I'll come up straight away.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I've been saving this for the whole show. I want to say Shantae Crochet.
Thank you.
Nitwit. You're a nitwit.
Thank you so much.
Stop needling us.
Thank you.
It's endless, the possibilities here.
Non-stop.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, James. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Blake.
Phil.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for this week. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
wow.